Hello and welcome to another installment of Dungeon Guides for 12.1, Season 2 of Midnight. Today we'll be looking at the Murder Roll Dungeon. As usual, we will be explaining trash mechanics, boss mechanics, and just in general what to pay attention to from a healer perspective. So as always, starting the pull off, we will have a few different type of mobs in the pack that we're going to be fighting. So we have the Bribed Guard, which is just a tank buster ad. It just does a lot of tank damage, nothing special. We don't have to worry about that one. You have the Felonious Mage, which just continuously spams fel missiles constantly. And then you have the Raw Hooligan, which does these bleeds on people, as you can see on the mage here. The worms just tend to just melee the tank. In general, the only thing you're really paying attention to in this pool is making sure that the missiles that are being spammed by the mages are not really hardcore overlapping with like a bleed on a person, and just pay attention to your tank's health because there's going to be an immense amount of tank damage on this pool. For the other mechanic that's happening here from the Bribed Guard, which is the tank buster, which makes them take more damage. There's also a bleed that they do, which is part of their tank buster, but it's more about the debuff itself. So just pay attention to people's bleeds. Make sure that the missiles are not overlapping. You can use stops like Blinding Light, for example, DK, Blinding Sleet, and stuff like this. Just stops or kicks on the missiles to just prevent some damage overall. Moving on to the next pool, we have some more Hooligans which do bleeds. We have another Bribed Captain, which simply does the tank debuff plus Buster. We have some Hooligans which applied bleeds. But in this pool, we also have the Seductive Syed, which is essentially just like a succubus type of ad, and like it tries to mind control somebody in the party for 5 seconds. You can kick it or you can CC it. You can either do like a kick while the cast is happening, or you can CC after the cast has finished, so it begins its channel. Now, another thing to notice that I just did here is in this particular room, there's going to be this contraband green fell crystal. And the reason why this one is important to pick up is because later on you can buy a special weapon, like extraction button, that you can use on bosses to make them take more damage. You can buy only one and you can use it only one time, but it's still important to mention. I will, like later on, I will show it. So for now, we're just again simply we're just paying attention to the bleeds and dispelling the tank whenever he gets too many stacks of that hard stop poison, because it reduces his max health. So it just makes him a bit more vulnerable, right? Pay attention to stops as well from the succubus cast, and really just try to keep spam healing kind of in this pool. There's just a lot of random damage from the bleeds, the missiles, and just the tank is getting destroyed on this pool. Other than that, in this pool, you have one new type of creature, which is the Massive Fellworm. And what he does is he spits these magical debuffs at people. You just need to basically just try to be like on top of the spells on them, so you never fall behind. If you dispel perfectly every time, you will always have the spell for that debuff. If you don't, you might potentially fall behind, and then you're going to get overlapped by the bleeds, which happen from the hooligans again, and the street sneaks as well. So you have like a lot of bleeds. You had a magical debuff on top as well. It's just a lot of damage overall, because the thing is, like, the Massive Fellworm also pulsates, like radiates damage to the party passively, right? So it's just a lot of rot damage. So like if you fall behind on the spells, you can get overlapped really, really badly. Just honestly, the only advice I can really give is just never stop healing, because you don't really have a time to do anything else anyway. But just pay attention to the people with bleeds especially, and you should be fine on that pool. So like here, I'm buying the special weapon. I'm just gonna rewind so you can see the tooltip on it for yourselves. As you enter the boss room, it's the very first vendor on the right side. In the future, maybe something else will be bought, but for now, this is what we were buying. It's this pistol. I'm way too fast for my own good, aren't I? I'm trying to pause on it. But essentially what it does is like it shoots the target for like some mild damage. But the other thing is it also increases the damage taken on the boss or enemy by 20%. And we're going to be using it on bosses in general. Either you can use it on the first boss because it's like a one-time use item. Either on the first boss during the damage taken phase, which it we'll be explaining briefly, or the second boss usually. Like it's just an important thing to mention because you will see me using it in case you don't ask about it. So, starting off on the first boss here, we have a few things going on. We have the main boss, which is just doing chaos bolts or barrages at the tank. It's just a very heavy tank hitting hit. The other thing that happens is like every time she does this tank buster, it bounces to other party members, like a chain lightning kind of effect. Other than that, Nibbles applies a dot on people that you just have to dispel. It's not too much to think about, just dispel. She bounces some damage from the tank buster to other people, and Nibbles also does a frontal breath, which usually is like I believe it's clockwise normally to dodge. It's like, you know, it's like always from right to left in that circular motion. Other than that, she does the Fel Nova, which is like she spawns clones of herself as you see, and they keep channeling pulsating damage. You just have to use stops on them or kicks. As a healer, I try to get like some of the close ones with like a blind or like a typhoon or something like this. And that's just all she does for this particular phase. Chaos Barrage on the tank. Nibbles does a dot. He does his frontal. And then when Nibbles gets to 20% is the really scary part of the fight, which is the burn phase. When Nibbles gets to 20%, he starts to channel like a stun into the boss for 20 seconds. She takes 100% increased damage, but she also pulsates very heavy damage to us too. So this is like the phase where you send your healing cooldowns. So you can see me here, I'm casting the loaded pistol while Nibbles is beginning to cast his damage taken. So like I shoot her, and now she's taking 120% more damage because I use the trinket. You can see how quickly we're dipping, right? That's why you have to save your healing cooldowns for this. It's quite straightforward though. Just make sure you have whatever kind of healing cooldown and just rotate the burn phase. I mean, look, right? Because we're taking, like the boss is taking 20% more damage from the pistol on top of the burn, like a regular 100%, she's just getting annihilated. Like we almost one-phased her in this scenario because we have double Arcane Mage, which is not something you will normally have, but it doesn't matter. And that's the gist of the mechanics. It's the same thing. It's like Tank Barrage, Nibbles does a dot, he does a frontal, you face him like she does the Nova, you kick the clones or CC them, Nibbles gets a 20, burn again, like, you know, spend your next set of healing cooldowns and repeat until she dies. That's the gist of the boss. Moving on to the next area. We have a bit of unnecessary roleplay. You click on this NPC to transform into a different role. In this case, I will be a bouncer, which means I'm going to have to kick some NPCs out of the next room. We have one person who cleans, two people who serve the NPC's food, one person who is a bouncer, which is me, and one person which is a dancer, which just has to run over some blue circles in the middle to get satisfaction in the room. You got to get 5 stars. I'm sure you guys would have done this in 1 Mythic 0 by now, so I probably don't have to explain it too much, but basically you fulfill whatever roles in this area and you just get satisfaction, get 5 stars, and you move on to the next area. The 5 stars gives you like a 10% damage increase. So moving on to the next area, the door opens once you're done. There are these keen taskmasters and warehouse workers. All they do is just shoot some minor like arrow dot damage to people. And their bleeds, you can dispel them, but you can see like the damage from them is nothing special. You don't even have to really heal it. But now, moving on to the second boss, he has generally a very basic rotation of abilities. He starts off with a killing spree, which is the big scary hit of damage that he does. It's a channeled AoE pulsation, which is why you see me channel my trinket preemptively ahead of time to counter it. So he basically just channels like some heavy physical damage for 3 seconds. You can see that is through the trinket how hard we're getting hit. Now the next mechanic is he delivers like 3 barrels, 2 normal barrels and 1 Fel barrel, one which is like empowered by Fel energy. And the entire way you want to play this is one of these circles must always hit the fell barrel for the reason that you have a dot. As you can see, we all have this dot. This is a pulsation rot damage to the entire party. Just make sure the person with the circle always clears the fell barrel. Do not touch the normal barrels. You need them for the next mechanic, which is called Murder in a Row, pun intended, I guess, for the dungeon, where you basically have to hide. So again, he spawns some extra barrels, but he also spawns a fell barrel. Now, it doesn't matter who does it, but from my perspective as a healer, I always usually hide behind the green barrel to guarantee that this barrel dies, because if we miss this barrel and it doesn't die in this phase, then you will get double barrel, because he's going to spawn a new fell barrel and they stack. And then you need to get rid of both of them, you need to spend like a healing cooldown, it gets very messy very quick. So just make sure that you always kill the fell barrel, it doesn't matter who does it. For me, I take the initiative as a healer and I do it to guarantee it. But essentially what happens in this phase is like you have to find a barrel and you have to hide behind the barrel so you don't get like a very nasty bleed. You can dwarf that bleed, of course. You can preempt the defensive and you can dwarf it, but you can bop it and all this kind of stuff. It's physical. This hit is physical. You can easily bop people and you can bubble and all that good stuff. So essentially, like, we make sure we hide behind barrels, and if you're properly hidden, you will only kill barrels and you will not be hit. And again, he's going to do killing spree now, which is a heavy damage, which is like something you prepare for. In this case, I just press Aura Mastery, and that's about it. And now he's back to doing the triple barrel. Again, make sure that circles kill the fell barrel only, and do not touch the regular barrels, so you have like enough barrels for the phase. Because sometimes, if people kill one or two of the actual normal barrels, you will not have enough for the actual phase, and you will have to get creative with bubble and bop. Or the tank will have to stay out and get that stupid bleed for no reason. Just be mindful of each other's positioning and be respectful of each other's positionings. You can see like how they panicked at the last second and they died because they were like, oh no, there's a person here, I'll go there. And then they're like, oh, there's a person there, I'll go there. Pick your barrel preemptively and you will never have issues. And now you see, because we didn't kill the fell barrel in the intermission, now it's going to pulsate on top of the AoE damage from the killing spree, which is really bad, but luckily I had enough healing for it. And now this barrel is still alive and still pulsating. And now we get another fell barrel and we have 2 stacks, and you can see how quickly this damage rolls out of control. In this case, I use my trinket to counter it, so it's not too bad. And then they use their circles, they kill the barrels, and we're home free. Luckily, we had a cooldown for this. This could have been potentially a wipe the situation. But in general, this is how the boss works, and those are the things to watch out for. Moving on to the next area. We have a new set of creatures again. So let's see what kind of pull we do here. We have Unleashed Imps, which spam Fellfire Burst, which just spam bolt damage, which does like a mild damage, I would say. You have the Fell Invokers, and you have the Ratguard Flayers. Essentially, Imps, they just spam bolts, just do stops or kicks, doesn't really matter. The Ratguard Flayers also do a cast. The cast enrages them if it finishes and gives them a damage done increase and damage taken as well. So if you want to do like, if you want to kill them faster, you can let it go through, but then the tank will take more damage. So I would recommend kicking them or soothing them, because it's an enrage. And what the Fell Invoker does is like he just funnels his own life into other creatures to heal them. You don't really have to do much to him. Other than that, you have the Shivan Punisher, which is like the big lady. She's an elite. She does that big circle as you saw. Just move out. Obviously, don't stand in it. And when she gets to 50%, yeah, it's like, look, perfect example, right? Health funnel from the Fell Invokers. They funnel their own health, and it's just straight up basically like they just kill themselves in a sense. And they heal the Punisher to full because we didn't stop them. So we just wasted a bunch of damage. We should have stopped them because they healed the important mob that we mustn't let happen. Because she's a big elite, right? She has so much health, we lose time. But essentially, when she becomes 50 or below, she is exactly like the Lichess and Pit of Sauron. She starts pulsating heavy damage. So this is the actual phase where you have to heal. So now she is mad and she's pulsating heavy damage, as you can see. We're starting to get some rot damage. I did preemptively trinket, which is why we're not dipping as much, but now the trinket is gone and you can see we're dipping constantly for as long as she lives. It's not that scary by itself, but it can overlap with other mechanics. So for example, like in the next pull, these demon flies, which we didn't pull yet, but normally we do, they charge people and they do random damage. If you've done Arakara before, you will remember those flyers at the end of the dungeon that just jump to random people. These do the same thing. They just jump on random people for physical damage. If we had pulled them with the Shivan Punisher, that could have been lethal because, you know, you basically like keep getting charged over and over by a bunch of these like demon flyers, right? You can see like there's so many of them. Had we chained it, it could have been lethal. Just keep that in mind if your group decides to pull them together. In this next pool, we also have a new type of creature called the Corrupted Warlock. He does two things that we are wary of. He does Lifesteal, which is just a standard Warlock ability, and basically it is unkickable and unCCable. It will heal himself from somebody in your party. Essentially, it's just gonna leech HP. And the only way to counter it is to either immune it through like a bubble or ice block or preemptive turtle or stuff like this, or you can use Feign Death, you can use Invis, you can melt it off. All those tools are wonderful for such a thing. So he doesn't heal, because when he heals, he just dies slower, right? It's just a waste of time. Other than that, there you go. He drains life on the mage, and the mage does not have Invis, and which is unfortunate. You could see him healing for a fair amount, right? And the other thing is he casts curses on people. They just decurse. If you do not have a decurse for any particular reason, the way to deal with the mechanic is to stack. You stack on the person with the circle from the curse, and you split the damage and you don't die. So, of course, like typically you will have a mage or a druid or something, so you will always have a decurse, but in case you don't, just stack together, it explodes, you heal it up, and we go next. And you can also dwarf, of course. Like you can see, like, if they don't decurse me, I'm going to stack on them, stack on the pile of people. But here they didn't decurse me, so I just dwarfed last second. If we didn't dwarf, I still have the Feral Druid in my melee, and I still have the tank in my melee, so we would have split the damage 3 ways. It still would have been okay. And that's the entire gauntlet of trash here, and we move on to the boss. It might be noteworthy to mention, in case, currently we never play this ad, ever, because it's overtuned, but Fell Hunters just do some melee, nothing special, and then the Fell Master, which is another mini boss, does two things. He does a Blade Dance, which is a massive hit to the party with like a nasty little bleed on top of it, and he also does an Eye Beam. We do not play this set ever. If you ever pull him, it's usually a wipe. But essentially that's what he does. He does a super nasty bleed on the whole party, and he just does a dodgeable Eye Beam. Now, moving on to the boss. He does a few things that we are wary of as a healer. First of all, he starts with a Tank Buster, which is just a frontal, just don't stand inside of it. Now he does the important mechanic, Axe Toss. He's going to fixate on one person, in this case the Russian mage here, and he's going to do like massive damage, and he spawns an NPC axe that you need to kill, because this, as you can see, does heavy AoE damage to the group, and it increases in damage every single second that it is not killed. If this survives, it can be extremely scary, for the reason that the next mechanic is called Infernal Crush, this one. Puts circles on your DPSers and your healer. And they do moderate damage, but they also leave a dot up. So if you had the axe alive, this would be double the damage right now. And the reason why that is scary is because of the next mechanic called Demonic Rage. And on Demonic Rage, he does a massive AoE hit, usually. And he gains damage taken and damage done for 14 seconds. During this, he also spawns like a growing swirly under his own feet. This is just purely like a tank controls the pace of the boss, so you save space kind of a mechanic. And we go back to the same thing. We have Legion Strike, which is the tank buster, which makes him take less healing, but it doesn't matter because he parries. We have the Axe Toss again. So again, same thing. You bait it in melee, so you can cleave the boss through it, hit the axe. Make sure we heal people up, because the Infernal Crush is coming. You can see the overlap is much closer. This time we have less damage. And you see how much damage we're starting to take. We have 12 stacks. This is Aura Mastery. This is my cooldowns. And you can see how scary that was. And this is only an 18, right? So people need to make sure they immediately switch. And again, right? Because we were so low from the axe, I had to spend some cooldowns to stabilize. And now the dot is lowering us. And the demonic hit is coming, right? The demonic rage. And then boom, right? Through AMZ, right? This is why this combo is scary. The axe has to die within reasonable time before the circles happen, because the circles also hit you hard and they leave the dot, which leads into this AoE. That's the scary overlap you need to be wary of as a healer. Moving on to the next mechanics and next specs. Here in this case, we're going to be skipping this first giant because these defiled golems are absolutely illegal. They do way too much damage. But again, we're dealing with the same type of ads. We have Fell Hunters, we have an Invoker. The Invoker is the one that funnels its own health bar. We have the Flayers, which are just enraging and you can kick them. And we have some Imps, which are bolting people. We've dealt with all these creatures before. We already know what they do. There's also the Punisher and the Warlock that we've dealt with before as well. We can skip forward. We already learned how to deal with them. And now we have a new creature called the Defiled Golem. And what the Defiled Golem does is very simple. He leaves some soulies on the ground, and he also does Defiled Slam, which is a very big hit. It pulsates 3 times on the party in general for massive damage every time. Make sure you have a healing cooldown for every single Defiling Smash. If you do not, you fall behind and people will die. The other thing that he does is like Fell Beams, which fixate on your DPSers and your healers. And they just basically spawn like a beam that follows the player and leaves some swirlies behind. So it just denies some space. If you stand still, you will die to the channeled swirly though. So don't stand still. Just always move and try to save some space. Same thing again, Defiled Slam. Boom, you can see, right? Literally 50% or like, well, 53% of my health on an 18, right? You need to make sure you always have a cooldown. You need to make sure you top people instantaneously every time, because if you fall behind even for a moment, the next smash comes. It's like you have about 3 seconds, give or take, between each smash. So you need to make sure that everybody's full between those moments. That is the only thing to pay attention to in this pool. Nothing else happens. Just make sure that you have cooldowns or defensives every single time for the 12 smash. Moving on to the last boss. The last boss does a few things in general. She does Chaos Bolts, which can be kicked by anybody. So you just make sure you kick it, because it just does unnecessary damage. She will do Summon Valfiend, which is like it's like a Warlock pet type of thing, but basically it spawns a Tank Buster type of ad. Like it melees the tank exclusively, it doesn't really do too much more than that. But we'll explain why it's sketchy later. Then she does the Fingers of Gul'dan, which is like these circles around us. And essentially what this does is mild-ish or like moderate damage to people and spawns a lot of imps. You basically make sure there's the stack. Try to like be as close as possible, but not like, stacked on top of each other, because you will take double damage. Just make sure you're like clumped up enough to not take damage, but to spawn them close so you can annihilate the imps. The other thing that she does is like she jumps away for the Malefic Wave and she spawns like a gate type of mechanic. You wait for her Malefic Wave to finish and then you click the gate. And that's the entirety of the fight. And for the people that are going to ask about the Infernal, it just simply fixates on the tank and it does like pulsating damage around itself if you stand inside of this hitbox. It does also melee the tank, of course. Essentially, the tank just has to make sure that like this particular field is not stacked on top of the gate, so you can click the gate. That's it. So we're just waiting for the Malefic Wave. He's kiting it away, of course. Malefic Wave finishes, and you can immediately click the gate, and you're safe. If you miss and you do not click the gate in time, you get like a 1-minute dot, which is fairly nasty, and will overlap with the next Fingers of Gul'dan, which is like the imp spawns plus the circles. It's very, very heavy damage. Just watch the timer on the boss. The other thing is like the Vile Fiend did not survive, but if it does survive and it doesn't get killed before the wave comes out, the Malefic Wave buffs the Vile Fiend and gives it 100% haste, which, like the ad starts like wailing on the tank super hard at that point, right? So you just basically try to like kill the Vile Fiend to make sure that it doesn't get the enrage from the Malefic Wave. And realistically, like typically it's the only thing that's alive whenever she teleports away. Usually, of course. Like on the first one, we had cooldowns and it died. This time it might survive, actually. It's like we have the imps again. Make sure you cast like a AoE stop. I did like a blind on the previous wave. This time it could be sleet or something like this, because like you can see like they mostly bolt the tank, but not all of them bolt the tank, right? Like you could see like the Fiend is alive now. The Malefic Wave is finishing. Oh, they killed it. Unfortunate. But had it survived and this wave hit it, it would enrage and get 100% haste. And on the same thing, we rinse and repeat. That is the entirety of what this boss and in general the mechanics are of this encounter. I will see all of you in the next video. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye.